ho! Merry Christmas, everyone! Help me say that. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Is everybody ready for Christmas? On the count of 3, I want you to shout out the very thing you want the very most for Christmas this year so I can hear it. You have to really shout it loud. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I got it. I got it. I'm going to put it on my list when I get home tonight, and we'll make sure that we'll try to get those. I can't promise, but we'll try to get that very most present that you want the very, very mostest. But I'm going to share some stories with you right now. And I'm going to tell you a story about how Santa chose the reindeer. Did you know a long time ago, before Santa started delivering presents, Santa was looking for something to do in the wintertime. And I thought to myself, I wonder what I could do. So I went to the elves, and the elves said, well, Santa, there's lots of kids out there that don't have toys. How about if you delivered toys to the kids all over the world? I thought that was a good idea. And so I called all of the elves together, and we built a great big building, and we called it Santa's Workshop. And we started making toys. And the animals, when they saw the elves were all making toys, they stood outside the windows looking in, and they wanted to help too. First, we let the seals in. And the seals, all they wanted to do was stand up on their tails and dance. They just got in the way, so we couldn't let that happen. Next came in the deers. And the deers wanted to play with all the balloons, and they would toss them up in the air, and when they came down, they would bust on their antlers. So that wasn't going to work either. And the polar bears, they said, we can help Santa, we can help. But their paws were kind of clumsy, and they kept breaking more toys than they were making. So finally I said, I tell you what we'll do. I will let the elves make the toys, and I will let the animals pull the sleigh so we can deliver them. Oh, they all thought that was good. The polar bears thought they would be good at it. The dogs thought they would be good at it. The seals thought they would be good at it. The reindeers thought they would be good at it. And so we had to do a tryout. And first the seals said, oh, Santa, let us try first. We know we can do it. I was ready to let the seals try. And so I hooked up the seals to the sleigh. And they started scooting along on the ice and snow until after a while, one of them says, Santa, I want to go to Greenland. I've never been to Greenland before. I want to go there. I got a cousin that lives there. And another seal said, no, I want to go to Australia. I heard the fish are really good there. You know how us seals, we love to eat fish. So they started pulling in all different directions. I said, wait. This isn't going to work. And so we went back to my workshop. And when we got back there, the dogs said, let us try, Santa. Well, dogs were good at pulling sleds. I thought that was a good idea. So I hooked up the dogs to the sleigh. And we got just a little ways from the North Pole, when one of the dogs said, you're not pulling your strength as much as you should. And another dog said, I'm pulling all my strength, you're not pulling your strength. And the dogs began to bark and argue with one another. And I knew that wasn't going to work. So I took all the dogs and the sleigh back to the North Pole. When I got there, the polar bears said, let us do it. We're strong, we can pull it. And the polar bears, I hooked them up to the sleigh, and they started going. And when I got into the woods, the polar bears stopped. I said, wait, what's going on? They said, well, we want to climb those trees. And the polar bears started climbing trees. Wait, guys, we got to deliver the presents. That's the thing we need to do, is deliver the presents. Oh, Santa, we just want to climb the trees. I knew that wasn't going to work. So I left the polar bears climbing the trees, and I made my way back to the North Pole. The reindeer said, Santa, where's your sleigh? I said, oh, it's out by the trees. The polar bears just had to stop and climb the trees. The reindeer said, Santa, we can pull it. We'll go out and we'll take you with us. We'll go get the sleigh. We'll load up all the toys and we'll pull the sleigh. And the reindeers went out. We got the sleigh all hooked up. We came back to the North Pole. We loaded in all the toys. And the reindeers, they're fast runners. And they started running and running and running and faster and faster and faster. And before you know it, the reindeers did a big jump and were up in the sky. And that year was the very first year that Santa delivered presents all around the world. And that's why Santa chose the reindeers. And that's the end of that story. Now, this story kind of goes along with that. But before I do that, how many of you like jokes? Who likes jokes? I love Santa jokes. Anybody have a good Santa joke? I love Santa jokes. And I brought my big book of Santa jokes with me today. I have hundreds and hundreds of Santa jokes. And I wanted to share some of them with you today. Where do snowmen keep their money? In snowbanks. Why does Santa wear red suspenders? To keep his pants up. With which hand does Santa stir his hot chocolate? Neither. I stir it with a spoon. What is the best thing to put in Christmas cookies? Your teeth. What two things does Santa never eat for breakfast? Lunch and dinner. Well, enough of the jokes. Let's go on with another story. And this story is called The Great Delivery of Presents. Now, I told you the reindeers pulled the sleigh, and they learned to do that, and they did it better and better every year and got better and better and better. And then one year, there was a reindeer, you may have heard of him. He was called Rudolph. And he guided the sleigh because it was a foggy, foggy Christmas day. But I want to tell you about another year. This was a year that all of the reindeer and all of the elves said, we're not doing Christmas this year. We've heard that every child in the world has been bad, so we're not going to do it this year. You got to deliver the presents. What will all the kids do if they don't get Christmas presents on Christmas morning? We got to deliver the presents. So I went out to find out what the reindeers were doing. The reindeers were all standing in their stalls. They weren't eating their oats to get their strength up. They weren't eating their carrots. I said, what's going on? Well, Santa, this is the way it is. We've been watching TV. We've been looking at Facebook. And we can't find any good child in the whole wide world. We've been reading all the newspapers. There's not one good child in the whole world. That can't be. There's got to be a good child somewhere in the world. Well, we haven't seen one. Well, if I can find even one good child, will you pull the sleigh this year so we can deliver the presents? Well, if you can, but you won't find one because there's not even one good child this year. Oh, brother. So I went back to the workshop and all the elves were standing around. Nobody was making dolls. Nobody was making toy trains. They weren't making any toys at all. And I said, elves, what's going on? Well, we've been talking to the reindeers. And the reindeers have told us there's no good kids in the whole world. So this year, we're not going to make any toys. You got to make toys. What are the kids going to do on Christmas morning if they don't have any presents to open? You've got to make the toys. What if I can find even one good child? Will you make toys then? Well, if you can, we'll try, but you won't find any because there's no good children in the whole world this year. I'll have to see about that. And so I walked outside of the workshop and I looked up in the sky and there was a big white puffy cloud. And I said, Mr. Cloud, come here. Come here, I need your help. And the cloud lowered down. And I climbed on top of that cloud and I said, Mr. Cloud, I need you to take me where I can find a good boy or a good girl this year so I can make sure that we deliver the great delivery of presents. Sure, hop on, Santa. And so I hopped on that white, soft, puffy cloud, and it wasn't long before I was asleep. And while I was sleeping, I lost my hat. It fell off my head. Finally, the cloud woke me up. He said, Santa, we're right here in the middle of the United States, right here in Missouri. I bet you can find a good child here. Thank you very much. I jumped off the cloud. I forgot to get my hat, and it wasn't long before my ears were cold. Well, I walked into the first little town there that I came to. And I went over to a window and I looked inside the window and there were two brothers fighting over a toy. Give me that. No, you can't have it. It's mine. Uh-oh. I don't think I'm going to find a good child here. I went to the next house and I looked in the window and there was a little girl and she was stomping her feet and said, Mama, I'm not going to do dishes anymore. I hate doing dishes. I don't think I'm going to find a good child there. And I went to the next house and the next house and the next house and the next house. And every house that I went to, there was a child that was fighting with their parents, arguing with their brothers or sisters. And I thought, oh no. I'm never going to find a good child. And I went over and there was a park bench. And I sat down on that park bench. My ears were cold because I had forgot my hat. And when I was sitting there thinking about what I was going to do next, a little boy came and he sat down beside me and he said, Santa, why are you here? It's not Christmas yet. I said, I'm looking for a good boy or girl. And I've looked in house after house after house, and I haven't found one yet. And if I don't find one, the elves and the reindeers, they're not going to help me deliver the great delivery of presents this year. What do I do? And the little boy said, well, Santa, you act like your ears are cold. I said, my ears are cold. I forgot my hat. He said, here, Santa, take mine. And I took his hat and I put it on. It was a little tight, but it did fit. He said, Santa, why don't you come home with me? My mother's got a big pot of soup on the stove. And I'm sure she'd like to have you come and be with us on Christmas during the Christmas season. That sounded like a good idea. And I went home. And the little boy went inside and he introduced me to his mother and his father and his little sister. And Mother said, Santa, sit down at the table. I've got a big bowl of hot soup that'll warm you right up. I was hoping it'd even warm up my ears. And I went over and I sat down and I ate and I ate and I ate. It tasted so good. Mama brought me another bowl and I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate. It tasted so good. Mama brought me another bowl. I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate, and finally I couldn't eat any more soup. And then she brought some cookies. Oh, she brought some of my favorite cookies. She had chocolate chip and peanut butter and double stuffed Oreos and all kinds of good cookies. And I ate a few cookies. Well, maybe more than a few cookies. And then I said, I've found my good boy and good girl. I've got to get back to the North Pole. I've got to get the elves and the reindeers working so we can do the great delivery of presents. And I went outside. And oh, I almost forgot to give the little boy his hat back, and I gave it back to him and said, thank you, young man. I'm glad I found a good boy and a good girl right here in Missouri. And I went outside and I called to the cloud, Mr. Cloud, come down. I need your help. And the cloud lowered down. And I climbed on that soft, white, puffy cloud. And pretty soon, you know what happened? I fell asleep. And it was then I was deep in sleep when the cloud said, Santa, Santa, we're back at the North Pole. Don't forget your hat this time. And I put on my hat and I climbed off the cloud and I went out to the reindeers and I said, reindeers, I found a good boy and a good girl right in Missouri. Now, will you make ready for the great delivery of presents? They said, oh, sure, Santa. We got to eat our oats. We got to eat our carrots. We got to polish up all the reindeer bells. We'll do it, Santa. I went to the workshop. I said, elves, gather round. I got something to tell you. I found a good boy and a good girl right in Missouri. And I want you to make the toys. Will you make the toys for the great delivery of presents? Yes, Santa, we'll get on it right away. And they started making toys faster than they had ever made toys before. And they made enough that on Christmas Eve, we made the great delivery of presents. And that's the story of the great delivery of presents. How about some more jokes? I love Santa jokes, don't you? All right, here we go. I got hundreds of these. How do you keep a wild polar bear from charging? You take away his credit cards. If a reindeer fell into the ocean, what would it do first? Get wet. Why does Santa fly around the world on Christmas Eve? Because it's too far to walk. What's Santa's sleigh doing on Interstate 70 on Christmas Eve? About 70 miles an hour. Enough with the jokes. How about another story? This is a story that happened out on the plains a long time ago. And this story is called The Moe Family's Christmas. Now, the Moe family, there was Papa Moe and Mama Moe and Big Brother Moe and baby sister Moe. And there was also, in this story, it's very important, there was another brother, middle brother Moe. And this is the way the story goes. It was Christmas Eve. Mama was making a big pot of soup for Christmas Eve supper. What do you like in your soup? How many of you like chicken noodle soup? Who likes turkey soup? Who likes beef soup? Who likes spinach soup? Who likes lizard tongue soup? I don't like that one either. Well, Mama was making her soup, and you can put in your soup whatever you want to put in it. Can you start making your soup? Help Mama make the soup? And Mama was putting in all of the vegetables, all of the meats. Oh, it smelled so good. And Papa said, Mama, while you and little sister are fixing the soup, me and Big Brother, we're going to go out and we're going to cut down the Christmas tree. And so Mama and baby sister, they went into the kitchen and they were stirring the pot of soup. And what you can put in it, whatever you want to put in it, it's going to be good. And Papa and Big Brother Moe, they went out into the woods and they hunted and they hunted and they hunted until they found the perfect tree. And Big Brother Moe and Papa Moe, they sawed down that tree and they took it back home. It barely fit through the door. They put it in a corner and Papa said, Mama, Mama, come look at the tree. And Mama said, Papa, that's the most wonderful tree we've ever had. And Papa said, let's decorate it. And so Mama Moe, she strung popcorn. What do you put on your tree? Do you put ornaments? Do you put lights? A long time ago, they didn't have lights, so they used candles. They didn't have electricity in their house, so they had to light their house at night with candles. And they decorated that tree. They took paper and they made paper rings to drape all around the tree. And finally, Papa said, we need to put the star on top. And Papa Mo lifted up baby sister Mo, and they put the star right on top of the tree. And Mama said, Papa, you and big brother Mo worked hard cutting down that tree. Let's have a bowl of soup. Oh, Papa Mo said, I'm so hungry, I think I could eat 2 bowls. And Mama Mo went into the kitchen and she carried out the big pot of soup. Baby sister Mo carried out the bowls. And Mama Mo dished up Papa a big bowl of soup. She dished up herself a bowl of soup. She dished up big brother a big bowl of soup. And she dished up little sister a little bowl of soup. And they ate and they ate and they ate. And it wasn't long after they had finished their soup that Papa said, Mama, it's time to go to bed. It's Christmas Eve. If we don't get to bed and go to sleep, then Santa can't come and bring our presents. So Papa Mo, he went to his bed. Mama Mo, she went to her bed. Big brother Mo went to his bed. And baby sister Mo went to her bed. They hadn't been in bed very long when Mama said, Papa, the candle's burning on the table. We forgot to blow it out. Can you go blow out the candle? And Papa said, sure. And Papa went out and he tried to blow out the candle, but his top lip stuck way out over his bottom lip. And every time he blew, the air went straight down. He blew and he blew and he blew, but the candle wouldn't go out. And finally, Mama said, Papa, you're not doing it. You're not getting it blown out. Let me try. So Papa went back to bed. Mama Mo, she got up. She went out and she stood beside the candle and she blew and she blew and she blew, but the candle wouldn't go out because Mama Mo's lip stuck way out, her bottom lip stuck way out over her top lip, and every time she blew, the air would go straight up. I'm sorry, I can't do it either. So Mama Mo went to bed and she said, Big brother Mo, will you go blow out the candle? And big brother Mo, he said, sure, Mama. And he went and he stood on this side of the candle and he blew and he blew and he blew, but the candle wouldn't go out because brother Mo had a problem. His mouth was twisted up on this side, and every time he blew, the air went straight out that way. Brother Mo went back to bed and he said, Mama, I tried, but I couldn't do it. Maybe I can get baby sister to do it. And so Mama Mo said, baby sister Mo, would you go blow out the candle? And baby sister woke up and rubbed her eyes and said, is it Christmas yet? No, it's not Christmas. I need you to blow out the candle. I can't sleep with the candle burning. Sure, Mama. And baby sister came out and she stood right on this side of the candle. And she blew and she blew and she blew, but the candle wouldn't go out. Because baby sister Mo had a problem. Her mouth was twisted up on this side, and every time she blew, the air went straight out that way. Baby sister Mo went back to bed. And it was just then when she climbed back in bed that they heard the sounds of somebody on the roof. And down through the chimney came Santa Claus. And he said, Mo family, why are you all still awake? You can't be awake. I've got to be able to do my job, and I can't do my job if you're awake. We're sorry, Santa, but Mama, she couldn't sleep because the candle was burning. Could you blow out the candle? Sure. And Santa went over and blew out the candle. Mo family went to sleep. Santa finished his job. Back up the chimney he went. But it wasn't long before Mama woke up and she said, Papa, Papa, I can't sleep because the candle's burning. Would you blow out the candle? And Papa said, oh, no. But this time Papa had an idea. He came and he stood right behind the candle. He had Mama come and stand right in front of the candle. He had baby sister come and stand right here on this side and look out that way. He had big brother Mo come and stand on this side of the candle and look straight out that way. And on the count of 3, they all blew. And the candle went straight out. And the Mo family had the best Christmas they ever had that year. And the story is called the Mo Family Christmas. It was just time for one last story before I have to go. And this story is called The First Christmas in Missouri. And this is the way the story goes. A long time ago, way back at the very beginning of time, even before me, there was a rabbit. And he'd been hopping all night. He was being chased by a fox. And he hopped until he hopped under this hazel bush. And he sat there catching his breath. He knew he couldn't stay there long because he knew if he did, the fox would catch him. And so after a while, he took a big deep breath and he started hopping again. And he hopped 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 all the way up to a big ridge that overlooked the Missouri River. And when he got up over the crest of that ridge, he looked in the east and there was a very bright star. It was so bright, he'd never seen a star that bright before. And so he just sat down there on the top of the ridge looking up at that star. It wasn't long before that fox came right along behind him. And that fox, when he come up over the ridge, he saw that star. And he went over and he sat beside the rabbit, just watching that very bright star. It was so bright, it woke up all of the birds in the trees that were roosting. The crows, the eagles, the falcons, the owls, all of the birds, all of the songbirds. It woke them all up, and when they looked and they saw that bright star, they just sat in the trees looking at that star. There were 3 old geese that were swimming on the river that night. And when they saw that star, those geese began to flap their wings. And they begin to raise up off of the water. And they begin to fly east towards that star. Because everyone knows the geese are the wisest of all the birds. All through the night, more animals came. The deer, the antelope, cows, and the horses, and the badgers, and the skunks even. All of the animals came. And as they came and they made their way up over that ridge and they saw that bright star, they took their place in a semicircle watching that bright star. All of the animals came that night. All of the birds, and they were all watching that star. Now that night there was a buffalo. And he was being followed by a hunter who had tracked that buffalo for days. He knew it would provide much meat for his family in their wigwam. And that buffalo slowly made his way up that ridge. And he too saw that bright star. The hunter, within just a few minutes, made his way to the top of the ridge, and he saw the buffalo. He reached in his quiver, he pulled out an arrow, he knocked it to his bow, and just as he was going to let it go, he too saw that bright star. Very slowly he let the tension off of the arrow, put it back in his quiver, and he too stood by the buffalo watching that star. The animals, the birds, they watched it all night long. And the next morning when the sun began to come up, they said there was peace in the valley that day. There was peace among all of the animals, all of the people, all of the birds. The story is called The First Christmas in Missouri. And that's the end of that story. Well, it's time for me to go. I just got to say one more time. If you forgot to tell me what's your very first thing you want for Christmas more than anything else, on the count of 3, we're going to do it again. Are you ready? I want you to shout in your loudest voice what you want for Christmas, the most important thing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I got it. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everyone! Merry Christmas. It's time for me to go and feed the reindeer. See you. Hope you have a great Christmas.